Alright, Damo. So I'm in the testing area with my melee character. And this is just a basic sword. It's not highly upgraded, but it's just like a regular sword. It's not a power weapon or anything. It's this was called. And it's got all of these stats. But over here on the right is how it actually works. So basically what would be R1 for your light attack, and then you hold that down for the heavy attack, and then it has this special ability, which this one parries. So you can see you can just spam your light attacks, right? Or you can hold it for your heavy attacks, and then I can use the special button to parry, which these guys won't attack me, so you can't see what the parry does, but every weapon has that ability. And then for your light attack and your heavy attacks, that has your move set. Like Dark Souls has move sets too, but it's not written down for you to read as part of the weapon stat. And then your weapon gives you a certain amount of dodges, so I can dodge up to 5 times before I can't really dodge anymore. And then I get an extra distance, I get a little bit extra sprint speed, I get an amount of stamina, which is just like how much I can sprint for. Yeah, so I can sprint one amount of times per second, and I can do that for, I guess, 4 seconds. And the cool thing about sprinting is you can see how it uses up my stamina, but when the stamina hits 0, I'm going to continue sprinting. It's just going to be a little slower. So you see I slow down, and then I can regular move and regenerate the stamina, and then start sprinting again. And then it runs out, and I just get slowed down, but I can keep sprinting as long as I want. So then you also have these stats, and every weapon has its own specific stats, but they all have like damage, and a lot of them have cleave damage, mobility, finesse, cleave targets. And when you get gear, the rating here, 514, is basically the accumulation of these stats as well as the value of these upgrades. So I have 4 out of 4, 4 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 3 out of 4, and then these numbers down here. And they do kind of a lot, like mobility. You know, you can make your character more mobile or less mobile depending on how you do your weapon stats. Finesse, like so this weapon, you see for finesse, it does critical and weak spot power. Not all weapons have that, but it's a finesse weapon. So how it works is if you come up to an enemy and you like hit them, so that white, you see yellow, red, white, yellow, 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 red. Red obviously means they die, but yellow means you hit them in a weak spot, which is these guys' their head. So as long as I hit them in the head, it'll be yellow. But if I don't hit them in the head, it's just white, and that affects the damage. So the criticals are just a random chance to do bonus damage, and the weak spots are actually headshots or other weak areas. And certain weapons will do more crit damage, more weak spot damage. Other weapons won't really care about it. And then cleave damage and cleave targets. It's pretty complicated, but you see there's a distribution for both the cleave damage and the cleave stagger, which dictates how much extra damage you're going to do beyond the first one, or how much extra staggering you get. And so you can dodge, and you can dodge while you're attacking. You can even hold a heavy and dodge, and then you can block normally, and you can shove people with the block. But different people have different armor, so this guy's got flak armor, and like his weak spot is again going to be the head. Actually, I guess he's unarmored. These guys have flak armor. Yeah, or maybe it's the if I hit him in the body, it's flak armor. If I hit him in the head, it's unarmored. And you can see with the weapon that like damage, not damage. Here we go, cleave damage. So it does significantly less damage to people in flak armor. And the cleave damage is going to be anybody hit after the first. So like if I try to hit both of these dudes, the second guy takes hardly any damage at all because of the flak armor. Whereas if it's these guys who are unarmored, the secondary does a decent amount of damage. I mean, it's enough to really like control all of them. Just keep like circling around them, you know? But then there's tons, like I use the thunder hammer, but there's chain axes, chain sword. So you equip the chain sword, actually, and then you can take a look at the stats. So it has very similar stats. It's got armor penetration instead of a cleave, and then it's a shredder. Its special activation is the shredder ability, which I'll show you. And it has a cool moveset, so the light attacks are all strike down. It all targets one enemy. And then the heavy attacks are all wide attacks. So you can see, you can just attack one guy at a time. Really freaking fast. And it does sort of hit multiple people, but it doesn't hit multiple people very well. Then if you want to hit multiple people, you can do this. It's a little slower, but it can hit everybody. And then you click the special action, and it revs up the chainsaw blade for, I don't know, 5 seconds, maybe not even 3 seconds. And while this is happening, you can attack somebody. And it just continues to do damage to them until it kills them or until it stops. And you can see it does a good amount of damage too, because it takes a long time for this to kill these tougher enemies. You can sequence them pretty fast too, it's not the slowest thing. And so like, you could be dodging, and then do it, you know, you can rev up while you're moving around. There's even, one of the new ones I got, this one. Yeah, rev it up, movement speed on revving your weapon to help you close the distance, you know, if you're like trying to get to the enemy. Yeah. So then you can see the light attack and the heavy attack, for example. And then here, it's quite different. I'm not sure what the point of the chain axe is, because it does way, way less damage with its light attack and a little less for the heavy attack. And not much compensates for that, because you see they have the same stats. I mean, the same type, the numbers change. But then you use it, and it actually does not swing faster, it swings slower, and the attacks do less damage. And if you look at the moveset's identical, right? It's just strike down, and then the wide attacks. It has the same power up. Yeah, I don't really get it. But here, so like everybody's got different amounts of what is it called? I'm not sure if there's an actual name for it, but where is it? No, it's not on this weapon. So like the claw, the devil's claw. Stagger. You can do impact damage or stagger damage to enemies. Like if I attack this dude, it does not interrupt him. He's just going to keep attacking me as I attack him. But this guy, every time I hit him, you know, he does not attack back. Or like these dudes, they get staggered. This dude, because he's in armor, will not get staggered. I might be able to stagger him with a heavy attack, but like this dude, I don't do shit to this guy, like at all. You can fight him all day long. Heavy attacks do more, but it's still basically nothing. Like there's these dudes with the shields, you don't do any damage to them, you have to get around them. And these guys are really interesting just to show you like how the armor works, because that plate on his arm, well, you can hear it, if I hit it, it deflects, but his upper arm cuts right into it, and you can see the damage is different too. Well, so I hit him in the head and it's a weak spot hit. Hit him in the arm, it's just, actually I hit him in the gauntlet. Or you hit him in the shoulder. Oh, if I can. Oh. Yeah, I don't know, I can't hit it. But sometimes you hit these metal pieces, yeah. But the weapon doesn't swing simply where you're looking, it swings in the direction that it goes. So you get used to the moveset, like if I have an attack coming from the right, like this, my heavy attack comes from the right, I can come over here and I can hit him, well, yeah, gotta be a little further back. I can hit him there, but of course if I'm on this side, I ain't gonna do shit because the shield's there. The follow-up comes back, so you can sort of like come in at him with an attack and then aim for the follow-up. That is mostly it. I'm just going to show you the Thunder Hammer because this is exclusive to the melee class and it's an awesome weapon. So here it has the strike down. This is my favorite moveset. With the light attack, it does the most damage to one enemy, and then the heavy attack does a wide attack that is not for damage, it's for staggering. And you can see here the heavy attack does marginally more than the light attack, but it's mostly just for the AoE stagger, where my main damage comes from the strike down, hitting individual targets when I need to. So like, I come up here, I can go bang, and just keep hitting him. But it's better to just come in here with the big attack and just keep whacking them. It sends them flying, and then as they're on the ground I can just keep hitting them. And if I hit him in the head, it'll kill him. It's pretty easy to hit him in the head because it's vertical and you just walk through. And it's pretty hard to miss the strike down. It like always goes after the head, except for the third one comes in sideways. But like, even if I aim down on their body here, like it still comes down, so it still hits them in the head. That one didn't, but and it has helpful stats that you see here. There's a lot. So like attack speed obviously, but there's the weapon stagger, how much stagger it does to the enemy. You see 15.98. And then there's distribution to it, so it will do stagger damage to all the people it hits, but it does less damage after more people. And so you see here I can hit through all of them, right? Because they don't weigh much, but like if I come over here, try to hit these dudes, this guy right here has a lot of mass, and my weapon will stop right on him. So see, it hits him, but it does not go through to him. But it'll go through him. Well, that's not gonna work. So I'm gonna attack, it'll go through these dudes and stop on the big guy. It stops. It'll go through that guy because he's lighter armor, but this guy just gets stuck on him. Same with this dude. Gets stuck on him. These guys just go through everybody. Except this guy does not go through that guy either. It's so yeah, then this also has the power. So you see it turns on the power, now it's electrified. It does not last very long. But I pop it on, hit a dude, and they explode. And it does way more damage. This 417 instead of it would be 173. It doesn't actually tell you what it does. It just says power up the weapon for a stronger attack. Actually, no, there is. Yes. This super complicated, like, it'll show you the whole way of how it works. It's even more interesting if the weapon's a little different. Because you can look at how the attacks change if it has different types of attacks throughout the moveset. So like here, you look, the last attack does way more damage to everything. Yeah, it still doesn't say what the special does. But this is just, when I was trying to figure out how to do like weapon damage versus armor mitigation, as well as like the poise damage, the stagger, I wanted to make it like a universal sort of system, like with some kind of equation, or like, you know, all the armor modifies the damage in this way or that way. And it's really complicated to have it all, because all the different weapons work differently with the armors. And so like, it felt like I'm gonna need to make every single combination individually, you know, and not have like a universal method to it. And that's what they did. Every single weapon has its own sort of system of how it interacts with the enemy, with each individual enemy, right? So you got these guys over here. You got the regular zombies, which are unarmored. Actually, that's not the regular zombies, which are unarmored. And then you got the infested, which these are poxwalkers. So they're like Nurgle zombies, and they're tougher. And then you go over here, and you got these dudes, like this guy's wearing flak armor, but he doesn't have a helmet. So you hit him in the head, it's not armored, and it's a weak spot. But this dude has a helmet, so you hit him in the head, and it's flak armor, but it's the weak spot. Or you hit his body, and it's flak armor, and not a weak spot. And it's like, this dude doesn't have any armor. This guy, it has flak armor, but it's better flak armor. Or maybe he just has higher stats, but his head is not a... okay, so for melee, his head is a weak spot, but for shooting, his head is actually tougher than his body. His body's way more damage than his head. And then this dude's got flak armor. This guy's got, I think, maybe a little armor on the shoulders, but like I showed you with this dude, you can shoot his little pieces of armor, and then it counts as armor. But you shoot where he's not wearing armor, and it does, you know, it's not armor. And it's scattered on their bodies. And so when you're fighting in melee, it's, even when you're shooting, like, you aim for the spots that are good, like their head or where they're not wearing armor, but it doesn't always work out that way. It's like for these guys, I like to fight them on the side to hit their head, specifically with my heavy attack. I'll try to come up to them, and I'll go like to the side of them, try to hit them, yeah, try to hit them right there in the head. And like, it gets stuck in this guy's body, so I can't attack anybody on the opposite side of him. So if I come in the first attack, I try to aim for this side, and I'll hit all the guys over here, right? And then I'll swing over here, then I'll swing over here. You know what I'm saying? To try to hit everybody. Same with these big dudes, because like my weapon gets stuck on them. It doesn't go through them. And it's different toughnesses, different like sizes of enemies will stop certain sizes of weapons from going through them. So the bigger the weapon, the more people you're going to go through, which is one reason why the Thunder Hammer is so nice, because all these dudes will swarm you at once, and you just toss them on the ground. But that's mostly it for the melee weapons. Like there's a lot to it. So like, for example, there's this big hammer, which kind of has it has a different moveset, obviously, from the Thunder Hammer, and it's almost reverse. Your light attacks give you the stagger, the wide stagger, and then your heavy attack has the strike down. Though they both go back and forth, which there are advantages to that. Let's put it on. So like, if you're going to use it, what it lets you do is if you walk up to a big crowd of enemies, with your first light attack, you can very quickly interrupt all of them. You can just go plop, and then they all fall over. And then your follow-up, you kill one. So you come up, swoop, kill one, and then you sweep, and you're just sort of crowd controlling the enemy. You know, if you just spam light attacks. Unlike with the Thunder Hammer, where you're just gonna do one kill, one kill, one kill, just keep killing people one hit after another. With this one, you'll interrupt everybody, get a kill, interrupt, 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 kill, interrupt, 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 kill. And you're doing damage with the interrupts, it's just mostly there for the staggering. So it's kind of like you're protecting yourself and your team with all of this stagger, and you're also chipping away at the enemy by doing damage to all of them and then getting a kill every few hits. And then if you really need to do some damage, you know, like you're fighting a big dude, that's when you pull out the heavy attack. Bam! You know? And then you'll hit the heavy attack and then sweep around to clear the enemies, and then hit the heavy attack, sweep the enemies, you know, hit the heavy attack. So yeah, there's a ton of different weapons, and all the weapons have different movesets and different they have different stats that you can. The stats are specifically for how the weapon works, but it helps to, like, you can see what the weapon does and how it specializes, and you can play around with how much specializing you want to do. For example, on the Thunderhammer, you have this ability, First Target, which it does, you see here, 8% extra damage to the first target because it's at 80%. 80% first target makes it 8% stronger, which, so you see my damage actually is 196, but it says up here 212, and that's because of this bonus damage. So the Thunderhammer does extra damage to the first target regardless. It's just if it's going to be a lot or very low. So I have another Thunderhammer, which is very low, 66% first target, and it drops, even though it's got 79. This one's also 79. It drops the damage by quite a bit because it's the first target. But if you look at the crowd control affects the damage, the cleave damage distribution. So if you have really high crowd control, you'll do more damage to more of your targets instead of just most of your damage to the one first person that you hit. Then there's a lot of cool guns. I'm going to show you the guns on the shooting character, but before I do, the flamer is only allowed on the melee character, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's just a flamer, but it does it stacks its damage. I'm going to attack a guy with a lot of health so you can see. So it stacks those burning, and you can keep burning, burning, and burning, and burning, and it makes the numbers go up, so it does like more damage per second. And you can really like annihilate them with those numbers if you hold on for a long time. It starts to drop, like. Giant chunks of health, like 214, 214, yeah. It's decent at staggering, like you just pop it out on them. So that's one thing. All weapons have the same sort of general way that the stats work, except for the weapons have, the guns have what you would usually expect, like a hip fire and then an aiming attack that's different on the flamer. And then they also have a weapon ability. So my gun can actually push people, which is one of, some of the guns have actually like shooting abilities, but a lot of them just have like defensive melee stuff, so you can do melee attacks while you're using your gun.